Greetings and welcome to the Christ-Centered Single Podcast with me, your host, Coach B. This is a podcast for women choosing wholeness, purpose, and Christ over compromise. Please share this podcast with other ladies that are either single, dating, widowed, or divorced so they can also be encouraged by these messages. Also, if you would like to make a donation in support of the show, you can scan the QR code and you will get a shout out on the show. And you will also help us in promoting the show. Thank you in advance, and remember to keep looking up. Choose you this day whom you will serve. We are faced with challenges, opposition, and temptations on a daily basis, but we must remember that we have to walk by faith and not by sight. We must fight the good fight of faith. This book is now available on Amazon in Kindle and paperback version by Belinda Wright. Make sure that you order your copy today. And remember that we have to continue to fight the good fight of faith. Hey, this is Coach B. I am now on the Faithia app, which is the #1 Christian coaching app. And you can find me under Coach B Wright. I'm a newbie on the app. I just signed up. They reached out to me, and I'm looking forward to connecting with people. I'm going to be offering some coaching courses and a number of different things that will be offered on the app under Coach B Wright. So connect with me, okay? I look forward to connecting. In faith, we connect. Greetings, beloved. This is Coach B. Listen, we are going on a break. We will be back on Tuesday, December the 9th, but we're coming back with a new Bible study series, and it's going to be fire. So I'm calling all single, widowed, divorced, and dating women to make sure you tune in on Tuesday, December 9th for the new Bible study series that's coming up with me, Coach B. There will be an opportunity available at each Bible study series to grab a study guide, and I have some other surprises that are coming up. So make sure you stay tuned and remember to keep looking up. Hey, this is Coach B, the host of the Christ-Centered Single Podcast, and I'm inviting women to participate in a special segment called Letters from Single Sisters. This heartfelt feature will showcase letters, testimonies, and encouragement from women sharing their experiences, prayers, and insights about singleness and faith. Selected letters will be read during the podcast episodes, creating a voice of community, connection, and inspiration for listeners everywhere. You can send your letters to bwrightjonespodcast@gmail.com. Letters may include personal testimonies, present struggles with singleness, prayers, encouragement, or reflections on what it means to live boldly and faithfully in singleness. Hello, and welcome to the Christ-Centered Single Podcast with me, your host, Coach B. This is a podcast for women who are choosing wholeness, purpose, and Christ over compromise. Welcome back to another week. I am so excited that you guys have tuned in, and I'm extra excited about my special guest on today, Lauren Salaun. I am so glad you're here, Lauren. Welcome.
Thank you, Belinda. I'm so excited for this conversation. I can't wait to dig in.
This is going to be so good. But before we get into it, please briefly share a little bit about yourself with the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a women's coach. I am
Awesome.
certified in somatic coaching, life and success coaching, all of that. And what I really specialize in working with women on is really embodying their feminine energy, healing your nervous system, and reprogramming subconscious beliefs and your subconscious mind so that you can like become wildly magnetic to whatever you desire in your life, right? So that you're more of a magnet of the things that you want to happen in your life. And I'm really passionate about, and I work a lot with women to break free from that like boss babe
Hmm.
hustle
Yeah.
culture
Yeah.
and help women own their worth, get out of overachieving, get out of perfectionism, all of that, and really like activate their power and their God-given purpose and invite more ease and flow into their lives. And I work with a lot of women when it comes to
Yeah.
dating and relationships too. So not just dating,
Nice.
that's a big focus. So helping women really attract their like dream relationship by embodying their beautiful like feminine essence and elevating their standards, setting firm boundaries, all of that.
That's awesome. Oh, yes, that is so needed. Setting those boundaries. Of course, the standards, sometimes we feel we'll have to settle, but that's not the case. When we know who we are, we
Mm-hmm.
know that we are enough, that we are worthy of good things. We don't have to settle. So that is so good. So I am
Yeah.
ready. Lauren, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Yes, the first topic that we're going to talk about today is about breaking free from those unhealthy patterns and how to stop chasing emotionally unavailable partners and instead
Yes.
attract those relationships that are aligned with faith and values. Let's talk about it.
Yeah,
Why?
absolutely.
Why is it so hard sometimes for us to break free from those patterns? Talk
Yeah.
to us, Lauren.
So I will say if you find yourself
Yeah.
in a pattern or repeating the same kind of outcome over and over again, like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm always attracting these kind of men, or like, why do I
Mhm.
always end up with narcissists, or I always in relationships
Mm.
like this, and it's not going the way that you would like, right?
Yeah.
If you're noticing this happening, I would say once you get to like 3 times,
Mm.
you're in a pattern, right?
Yeah.
And the common denominator, unfortunately or fortunately, the common denominator is you, right? So
You.
if you're
Yep.
seeing something happen over and over again, that is a sign like, uh-oh,
Yeah.
I think I'm the problem, right?
Yeah.
Now, I understand that some people hearing that can be like, excuse me, like I've
Mhm.
been like targeted by bad men or whoever it is. Like
Yeah.
it's not my fault. And that's not what
Mm.
I'm not here to say like it's your fault. You did bad. Like nothing like that, because
Yeah.
we get into those kinds of situations for so many reasons, some that are deeply embedded into our subconscious minds from
Mhm.
childhood,
Yeah.
right? But the great thing about you being the problem is that you're also the solution, right? You also,
Right.
therefore, are so much more powerful at changing the reality and changing what's coming into your life than you realize. Because when a
Yes.
lot of people are thinking like, oh my gosh, why are these kinds of men targeting me, why do I
Mhm.
keep attracting these kind of men, and are thinking
Mhm.
that it's all out of your control, with
Mm.
like that's a bit of a victim mindset. But if you're feeling
Yeah.
like that, like it's all out of your control, the good news is there's so much more that you can actually do
Yeah.
to change that, and I'll get into that in a minute. But let's
Okay.
talk a little bit about why women fall for unavailable men, and why women might find themselves in those patterns, like men who don't want to
Yeah.
commit, men who might cheat or be manipulative or
Yeah.
emotionally unavailable, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So some women like the chase, right? And
Mhm.
that push pull kind of dynamic of the chase, and
Yeah.
which often can happen in like a toxic dynamic or with a man who's unavailable, that
Mhm.
unpredictability activates dopamine, and that dopamine feels good, and the dopamine of that push pull will be
Yeah.
addictive, right? So it's
Wow.
actually like programming yourself on a physiological level to be addicted to that kind
Wow.
of energy. And that's also why
Okay.
sometimes like healthy will sometimes feel boring to some people at first, because you like
Yes.
the up and down of that dopamine rush,
Wow.
right?
That's
It can
something.
also feel, yeah, I know, right? And it's
Yeah.
like some of these things when you're like, "Oh gosh, shoot, I am doing it," you know? It can also be like somebody unavailable might also feel familiar, right? If you grew
Mhm.
up with a parent, for instance, who
Mhm.
was not emotionally available or who wasn't a very healthy like figure in your life,
Yeah.
those kinds of relationships, right? That pattern gets embedded into your nervous system.
Mm.
And those kinds of patterns are often running like on autopilot in the background and we're not even aware of them until we like see these results continuing to happen. We go, wait, why is this happening? Right.
Yeah.
And so if there could be a subconscious pull toward those familiar childhood patterns, right?
Mhm.
Like, and so if you
Okay.
see like, so that might be a big self-discovery moment for somebody to be like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I do date people like my dad or whoever, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's women find themselves in that kind of pattern to validate their ego, right? And so if you are
Mm.
somebody, and this, I used to feel very unworthy of love, and I used to feel like, I did not grow up with healthy marriage example in my
Yeah.
parents, and very much felt like love had to be hard. There was a lot of
Mhm.
struggle. There was a lot of fight. You aren't going to be spoken to respectfully by the person that loves you and is supposed to love you. So, like, put up with being disrespected, put up with poor treatment, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and so, if that's kind of the model you saw, right, or there's a part of you that feels unworthy of love, you might have this desire to prove that you're lovable, right? I'm going to
Yeah.
win this person over,
Yeah.
I'm going to change their mind. This unavailable person, I'm going to do everything I can to try and win them over, because if I change them, then
Yeah.
I know I was worth it. Right.
Wow.
And oftentimes you don't end up changing them because
Yeah.
you can't really change a person. And if they're emotionally unavailable, they're that way for a reason. And they're not going to change that unless they actually want to. So
Mhm.
when you're doing that, you also then just reinforce that pattern, because you end up going for a person like that to try and prove to yourself, right? To
Mhm.
the little you inside, or
Yeah.
those subconscious patterns running in the background. I'm going to prove I'm worthy, because if they change for me and they love me, I'm
Yeah.
worthwhile, right?
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
they often don't, because they have their own stuff that they need to work through before they can be available for healthy love. And so then it
Yeah.
just locks in that pattern more. See, I'm not worthy of love. I'm going to have to try
Wow.
harder next time. Right.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Falling for somebody's potential and the idea of them rather than the reality.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and sometimes too, like, this also goes to scarcity mindset, right? If you think that
Mm.
love requires a lot of hard work or
Mhm.
struggle, then you might settle for breadcrumbs or settle for less than you deserve.
That's
And then
right.
another one, and this is one that can sometimes be a little harder to swallow, is
Yeah.
sometimes people go for unavailable people because
Mm.
they're also unavailable. Right?
Unavailable.
So
Yeah.
exactly. So if
Yeah.
you have, right, so if you notice, okay, I'm in this pattern of attracting unavailable people, what
Mhm.
part of you is unavailable?
Yeah.
So like if you struggle with being truly vulnerable, right? You're
Mhm.
like, you know what? I'm okay being vulnerable up to this point, up
Yeah.
to my comfort zone. I'm okay with that. But true vulnerability, like letting somebody
Yeah.
really like get in and know me and see me, like even the ugly parts, like no, thank you. Right?
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
have a vulnerability block, that's a part of you that's unavailable. So
Mm.
that part of you might be, again, subconsciously attracting unavailable people, because then you never have to
Wow.
actually face that, right?
That's
Oh, if
good.
I
Yeah.
yeah, and so it can
Yeah.
be, a an aha moment for you to be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
maybe there's a part of me that if I'm noticing this pattern over and over again, then there's a part of me that's attracting this for a reason. And if I
Yeah.
can do the inner work to heal that piece or
That's
to
right.
whatever I need to do,
Yeah.
that can help change the outcomes."
Yeah, that's true. And that's so good. I'm glad you pointed on that because, I think about some of the women that I talk to, and you said about healing,
Mhm.
because many times, and I notice in some conversations that I have, there are many women when they get out of a bad relationship, sometimes they rush right into another relationship
Yeah.
without taking that time to process things, to heal, to
Yeah.
work on their inner selves before they're going into another relationship. So if you're not taking that time to seriously heal, you're carrying that other baggage into a new relationship. And
Yep.
that's there goes that cycle again.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
If you want different results in anything, relationship, work, you name
Mm-hmm.
it, you
Yeah,
have to get back like into the root of things, right?
that's
Not just
right.
like, and so until you heal those things, like you do
Yeah,
that, you look and you have that self-awareness, you do the inner work, you're going to
yeah.
just repeat the same relationship just with different people a lot of the
That's
time.
right. That's right. Oh, wow. That was so good. That was so good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for sharing that. That was some good insight. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's get to this next one. This is so, so important. God's timing in
Yeah.
love, trusting the process of singleness instead of rushing into relationships out of fear or
Mm,
comparison.
yeah. I know
This
that's
is
a big
good.
one. I
Yes.
see so many. So I've personally always been somebody who is more comfortable, often more comfortable on my own than
Yeah.
in a relationship. Not more comfortable, but
Okay.
have always been very comfortable being by myself and on my own.
Yeah.
And I was married, so I've been divorced. I was with my ex-husband for 10 years and we split
Okay.
up in 2020, but even since then, right? Like never felt the need to just jump right into a relationship or anything
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
And something that I do see is a lot of women are very uncomfortable being on their own, right?
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
want that kind of whether it's attention or validation or feeling loved or whatever it is. And we all want to feel loved, right? I think
Yeah.
at the core level, men and
Mhm.
women, like that is the main goal
That's right.
of our life is to feel loved.
Yes.
And so we want that. And I think it's so important, especially after a relationship or if you're going
Mhm.
through something, like to really check in with yourself and be like, okay, right now, like, do I have the capacity to am I available to be in a relationship?
That's right.
And
Yeah.
am I available to be in the kind of relationship I want to be in? Is
Yeah.
there some healing I should do? Should I take a little bit of time to myself to kind of decompress?
Mhm.
Often after a
Mhm.
big relationship, the answer is going to be yes, right? And
That's
even just on principle, it's not a bad idea, right? To have
yeah.
a little time to yourself and kind
That's
of
right.
reflection and stuff like that.
Yes.
Um, and I think too, bringing it to God and God's plan and stuff like that, that there's a lot of beauty that we can find in those times that where it's just us,
That's
right?
right.
And a
That's right.
lot of like realignment and stuff like that. And I know for me, like if I'm thinking about my single journey the last 4 years or
Mhm.
so, you know,
Mhm.
the first when I first became single, I hadn't dated since my early 20s.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I first
Yeah.
became single and I also became single during COVID too. So
Okay.
it's not really like
Yeah.
no dating is happening. And I live in Los Angeles. So it was very like you couldn't go anywhere. And
Yeah.
so I was like, well, now I'm 30, you know, in my early 30s. I'm like, I don't even know. Like,
Wow.
I need to learn who I am right now as
That's
just
right.
me.
Yeah.
And I need to understand what I do want in a relationship at this point and with this version of me. Because
Yes.
I knew that I wouldn't choose my ex-husband again. You
Mhm.
know, there was a reason we were splitting up, of
Right.
course.
Right.
And so I knew that. So I was like, I don't even know what exactly I would want right now. And so in the beginning, I was like, well, I'm not dating to be in a serious relationship. I'm going to date to like learn about myself and to
Yeah.
like to just understand more clearly what I want, right? And so I knew
Yes.
very clearly I'm not looking for a serious relationship, but
Mhm.
I'm looking to like see what dating is like now and
Yeah.
what I would want in a
Okay.
relationship. And as time went on and I became more clear, okay, you know what? I'd be open to a relation. There was like the I'm open to a relationship phase. And then
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
the like I only want a relationship phase. And then
Mhm.
I would say 2023, like mid
Yeah.
2023 or end of 2023, it was like
Okay.
really, no, I'm only available to date a man who I can see being my future husband. And
There
so
you go.
once
Yeah.
and I will say too, I probably even like still was too open with the
Okay.
parameters for that, right? But I
Okay.
will say like when once I got so clear on okay, what kind of man do I want to be with? What kind of relationship do I
Mhm.
want to be in? What sort of characteristics does he have? What is his
Mhm.
character like, his personality like? How does he treat me? How does he show up in the world? Like, got so clear on that.
Yeah.
And then I got so clear too in my boundaries of, okay, like I don't know if I will know immediately on a first date if
Right.
this man's my husband, like, but I
Yeah.
know if it's a no, I know that's where it ends. Right. And so
Mhm.
I
Okay.
got so clear on the vision
That's
I had
good.
for what this man would be like. And I
Yes.
knew that if I met somebody that didn't check the necessary boxes, the must-haves right out of the
Yeah.
gate, it was a no. It was no. Even if he
That's
seemed
good.
great, even if we had good chemistry, whatever. It was a
Yeah.
no, right? And I got
Yeah.
so like discerning about it and so
Great.
clear. And I also released some of the more superficial things, right? I'm like, yeah, I would love to be with a nice tall man. And if he's not 6 foot plus, that's
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
right?
Okay.
Like, I would
Okay.
love a man with a full head of hair, but if
Yeah.
he isn't, like, it's just hair, right? Like,
Yeah.
these are the things, like, because attraction and chemistry can come from so much else. So I was so clear on his character and
Okay.
what this man's heart would be like and stuff. And I
Yeah.
was then very much said, like, okay, God, I trust you with this. I
Yeah.
trust you with it, okay? And I
Yeah.
took so much because there was a time when I was single and was in that place of like, okay, I'm ready for my husband.
Okay.
I was putting so much pressure out into the world in a
Okay.
sense. Even still, like very much in my feminine energy and um showing up in my femininity and all of that, but I
Yeah.
was anxious
Mm.
about God's timing. And I would be like, okay, well, I've got to like go try new things, or I should go to a new cafe today so that I'm not always in the right place
Oh,
because my
wow.
husband's going to
Yeah.
be there and I need to be in the right setting, right? Like it was so, and I was getting so anxious about this that like I need to put myself in the right place. I need to all this stuff. And then I'm like, girl, like I think God will put him in the right place when it's supposed
Yes.
to happen. Like I am
Yes.
stressing myself out. And while I was still
Yes.
so like, oh, but I'm in my feminine energy, I was like, well, I should go to
Wow.
this place, or should I do that? I do that, or that. Maybe I mix up my
Wow.
routine. Like, my goodness, right? And when I fully surrendered it,
Yeah.
because again, I'm like, but I want to be in a relationship by the end of the year. It's not that hard. Like all this kind of stuff. When I
Wow.
fully surrendered it and like took it off my plate because I was getting
Yeah.
tired. I was getting tired of thinking about
Yeah.
it so much. And I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? It's gonna happen, or it maybe isn't. And if
Yeah.
it
That's
doesn't,
right.
like my life, like one, I very much believe, and this is me like over a year ago. I was like,
Yeah.
I very much believe that God has husband and family in my
Yeah.
future.
Yes.
And like, why don't I just trust him with that? And if he doesn't have that
Yes.
in my future, I know he's got a pretty dope life ahead of for me because my
Yes.
life already, because it still is, and it also was. I'm like, my life is
Yeah.
so good. It's
Amen.
so good. And
Amen.
so like whatever he has planned for me, whatever direction it goes, it's gonna be good.
It's
So I
gonna
was like,
be
so you know
good.
what?
That's
So you know
right.
what? I can just let me let go of this piece. I'm gonna
Yeah.
let go of this piece. God, you take care of it because I'm stressing myself out too much about it.
Yes. I know that's
I'm
the
like,
truth.
I'm
Oh,
getting tired. I'm like getting a
yeah.
little tired of this, of like
Yeah.
the thinking I need to be in the right place or whatever, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff,
Yes. Stress
And
yourself out.
once I once I really surrendered it, like
Yeah.
truly, and wasn't trying to micromanage the little details,
Yeah.
like I met my current boyfriend who is literally like every
Wow.
single thing I
I
wanted, like
love
every
it.
single thing on the list,
Yes.
and like so amazing. And I
Amen.
was like, "Oh, okay." And
Wow.
like I was like, "Oh, all it took was me
So
actually
yep.
surrendering." And that's
Yep.
not to say that I didn't meet men and go
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
dates before I
Yeah.
surrendered. I did. I've
Yeah.
never had a problem with that. But it was generally, oh, but this is missing. Oh, something's not quite right. Something,
Mm.
it wasn't quite the right fit, right?
Yeah.
There was something a little bit off. And then, but it was when I fully like surrendered and let go and like
Yeah.
actually trusted God with it, not
Yeah.
just felt like I was or thought I was or said
Mm.
I was trusting God, but when I really did,
Wow.
that's when it started happening,
That's when it
right?
happened. Yes.
And I do very much think, and I experienced this, that time of being single, like there's so many different seasons of it where,
Yeah.
there's seasons where I'm like, okay, well, if this is the result I'm getting and it's not really what I want, then maybe there's some healing available to me, or maybe what's available to me to learn from this, right? And taking
Right.
pauses. But then there was also I got so clear that I was only available for future husband energy,
Yeah.
future
Yeah.
husband potential. And
Yeah.
and I was so clear on what I wanted that man to be like.
Yeah.
And it completely drowned out. Like it was like I had
Everything
blinders on.
else. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
anyone that wasn't that
Yeah.
didn't even register on my
Oh,
radar.
wow.
Not in
I
a
love
like
that.
disrespectful way, but wasn't
Yeah.
even, was like, thank you so much, but no, thank you.
Yeah.
And I was also so in pursuit of God.
Yes.
Right. So I was like, so
Amen.
like, hey, either I'm like, yes, how badly, how much I want partnership, family, all that. That. I don't need
Yes.
to tell you. You've got the
Yeah.
message, right? I'm like,
Yes.
I don't need to talk to you about that. I trust that
Yes.
you've got it. I'm like, but until I get there, and then
Yeah.
obviously once that happens, until then, like let me chase after you and get closer to you,
Mm.
because how much richer, like I know there's so much richness I can find in my life right now. Because
That's right.
and I will say, because sometimes it's tempting to be like, I'm going to get closer to God and I'm going to seek God so that he'll give me my future husband, right? Like we
The
like think we're going to,
motive.
yeah, I'm going to do
Yeah.
it for this reason so I can get the
Yeah.
reward that I want, because that's
Yeah.
what you want from me, right? Is to get closer to you, and then you'll give me what I want. And that's not how it works, you guys.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when I actually like
Amen.
took that off my plate of me needing to deal with it,
Yeah.
right? And then I was like, you know what, God, like let's see what's up. Like I stepped into a new level
Yeah.
of surrender with God in my life in many, many areas, not just love life, not just relationship, but
Yes.
in many, many areas,
Yeah.
and was so hungry. And it was so cool to see so many blessings like popping up in my life. And
I
then
love that.
one of them being like this beautiful man in my life too.
Yes. I love it. I love it. I love how you said you got to a point where you were really clear on what you wanted.
Yes.
That's so important, because, I can say I was clear on what I wanted, but I settled. I didn't
Yeah.
stay within that boundary of this is what I want. I lowered the standard, you know,
Yeah.
and you can't do that. So I love that you were clear about what you wanted. You had your negotiables and your non-negotiables,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
and you were clear, but then you surrendered.
Yep.
Then things begin to change. That is so key. That's so important, because the word tells us to seek first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and all other things will be added. When we seek God first, we seek to build that relationship, to get closer to him.
Mm-hmm.
He's already aware of everything that's on our heart, our
Yeah.
heart's desire. So, of course, he's going to want to bless us, because we're seeking him, we're giving him our attention, we're loving him. So, why wouldn't God want to bless us in so
Exactly.
many other
Yeah.
ways?
Yeah.
So, that is so good. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Of course. Of
Thank you
course.
for
And I
that.
will say, like, it was that full surrender. And it wasn't,
Mhm.
again, I want to be very clear. It wasn't just in terms of relationship. It was
Right.
full surrender,
Full
like in
surrender. Yeah.
of my life. Right. And
Yes.
business
Everything. Yeah.
things started to happen. And it was things that started to happen
Yeah.
very quickly that
Wow.
I had been wanting for a while. Things that started to happen very quickly that had already been in progress, but were like slowed down or stuck or whatever. And then once
Yeah.
I went into that full surrender place and was so like present with my relationship with God,
Yeah.
things started to accelerate a lot. And even the cute thing about my boyfriend, like
Yeah.
we had met probably
Oh.
6 months or like a year
Oh.
before. We had met at some point, not like just like we go to some similar places in the
Yeah.
neighborhood and stuff like that. So like
Okay.
introduced himself once, but that was it. Like, oh hey, like
Yeah.
nice to see you again, sort of thing.
Were you attracted
And
to him then?
I didn't, he's very handsome.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it very much was like, oh, he's charming
he's
and like
looking,
very
yeah,
handsome. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But like was very polite and kind,
Yeah,
and that was that, right? Didn't ask
okay.
me out the first time we spoke.
Yeah,
But the thing with that was like I was still, the first time I met him, I don't exactly know what was going on. Well, I kind of know what was going on in his life, but like, and he was
yeah,
single at that time too. But
okay,
I was still in that place where I was like just realigning my relationship with God. Right. So
yeah,
it's when I look back on these things, I'm like, oh no, like I knew that he existed as a person
yes,
when I was single, like a little while before that, but it
okay,
didn't fall into place until after I had like spent more time just me and God and just with me
wow,
until I had fully surrendered. And then it like locked in so
I
beautifully. And
love it,
literally,
yes,
like, 'cause I remember in the beginning, and I still have these conversations with God, but I remember in the beginning being like, "Oh my gosh, like, you like, oh yeah, you were paying attention." And it's so funny. I think it's so funny when we have those kinds of conversations with God of like, "Oh, you
yes,
did hear me." And I imagine him being like, "Duh, I've heard every single thought you've ever had. Like, I know, yeah, you're pretty
yes,
consistent about telling me this one,
tell
like,
me about
and
it.
being, oh my gosh, like, yeah, okay, you were very clearly listening. I needed to get into a place where I was more ready for it, or where I
Yeah,
was more surrendered or more trusting or whatever it was.
that's
And
right,
then
I
it,
love that, I love
yeah.
that, that is so cute, that is so key, thank you so much, and you know what, even in what you were just sharing, this leads so good into what we're talking about next about purpose in the single
Mhm.
season, how
Yeah.
women can use singleness as a time to grow spiritually, emotionally, and professionally. And you put your focus on God, right?
Mhm.
So that gives the opportunity to build up the relationship, to build a closer walk with God. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yes.
And so that I'll back up a little bit to a bit more of my story and my faith journey. So like the bullet points, grew up Christian. My parents were raised Catholic. My nana, very Catholic, stuff like that. But we didn't really
Yeah,
go to church growing up. Went to church during holidays and all of that.
yeah.
When I was in high school, I think, or junior high,
Mhm.
well, elementary school, we moved houses. And when we
Okay,
moved, we decided to go to Lutheran church in our
okay,
neighborhood. And then
okay.
in junior high, I started going to like the youth group stuff they had there. And then I
Yeah,
did confirmation and all of that. So I was like making choices for myself, for my faith.
right.
It was never like my parents making us do it or anything like that.
Okay,
And then chose to go to a Christian college, which was kind of a random decision for me.
okay.
I got recruited to play
Nice.
soccer there, chose to go to that school, loved it. And that was, so college was really where I think like had that like much more personal relationship with God
Oh, good.
come into my
Yes.
life. And
Amen.
then life kind of was life, and everything was good for a while.
Yeah.
And then 2020, I would say 20, maybe 2018-ish, but around 2020,
Mhm.
I've always been into like personal development and personal growth and stuff like that, and like wanting
Yeah.
to learn and being very curious and everything. But I
Yeah.
started to, probably more in 2020, started to dabble in some new age things and new thought things, which
Okay.
I thought, like, I still considered myself Christian, and I thought that these things that I was exploring and learning about were compatible,
Mm.
which was that's a whole nother conversation for
Yeah.
another time.
Yeah.
And so I still, like, there was a couple years where I'm like, oh, dabbling in random things and stuff like that are very new agey or new thoughty, like, oh, I am the source of everything in my life, right? Like very
Mm.
self-focused,
Yeah.
and thinking I'm doing good, like I'm helping the planet, I'm helping people, but it's
Yeah.
so selfish and so self-focused. And it was probably in gosh, I don't know, maybe 2023 or so, that I
Okay.
started to, and again, like I said, Belinda, I'm thinking like this is all compatible with Christianity. Like I'm still close with
Mm.
Jesus. Like everything's
Yeah.
still fine. This is fine.
I
I
hear
didn't
you.
think there was
Mhm.
anything in
Yep.
conflict. But
Yep.
that also, to that point, like that's an example of me being both ignorant and arrogant,
I
right?
hear
I'm
you.
thinking I know better. but then also I don't know my Bible enough to know that I'm not know,
Isn't
I
that
don't know
something?
better, right?
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
so all of that. And so I, a few years, I think it was probably 2023, started just feeling this very like gentle invitation, like in my
Mm,
soul to like get back into my Bible, to start going back to church consistently. And it was never like a stopped going to church, but I just was like,
yeah.
I have too much going on the weekends. I'm
Mhm.
riding horses. I'm doing this. I'll fit it in
Yeah.
sometime. Like it wasn't a rejection, but it wasn't a priority, you
Yeah.
know?
I hear you.
And so I felt this like just natural pull back into the Bible, and also this natural falling away of a lot of those other random things I was doing, like full
Yeah.
moon stuff or whatever it was.
Wow.
And then started noticing a lot of my friends who had been in that space as well starting going to church. And I'm like, I haven't talked to so and so in 6 months. What is she doing
Wow.
going to church? That seems very strange because she
Wow.
never would go to church. And
Yes.
so started having some conversations with friends, and they're like, I've been feeling that too. It's so weird. So feeling it was so cool to see like how the spirit has been moving. And I think that's continued a lot.
Yeah.
And I ended up having a conversation with one of my girlfriends who had been on a very similar path, like in all those things that I just said, actually.
Wow.
And we started to break all those like conflicting beliefs down. And so
Yes.
part of my like, so I would say the last 2 years has been like a very strong refocusing back on Jesus, back into my Bible, back in going to church, all of that.
Amen. Amen.
And 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 I would say really like over the last year and a half, that has like gotten
Mm.
even deeper, the last, 2025, even getting deeper and deeper. And so for
Yes.
me, like when I say like, oh, I refocused on God and I really started to surrender, like
Yes.
in all the areas, like cut away a lot of the deception and
Amen.
stuff like that, and
Yes.
was so focused. And so it was like I was in such a cool phase
I
of
love
like
that.
deconstruction, right?
Mhm.
Of
Mhm.
deconstruction, and then getting into like getting into my Bible, and like be like
Yeah.
I was getting doing prayer time at 6 a.m., which was crazy for me because I was not
Wow. I
someone to get
love
up that
it.
early. But I was like,
Yes.
God, when would you like me to do morning prayer time? And I hear him 6 a.m. And I was like, are you sure? That's a little early. You know, I don't wake up that early normally. He's like, yes. And I was like, all right, on it, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was where I was like just
Yeah.
filled with this like hunger to
Yes.
like break down all these past beliefs, get really clear on stuff, and still
Yeah.
learning so much, of course.
Yes.
But that was
Yes.
like it was a whole like I don't know, saying born again sounds that it like that feels almost cheesy to say, but I think that's what it was, right? Like
Yeah.
this
I
born
hear
again
you.
like revival in
Mhm.
my soul. And so that
Yes.
was the thing. Like I was so focused and on
Wow.
fire and like just devouring, and like I'm listening to sermons all the time. I'm like so plugged in. And
Yes.
that was the thing where I was like, you know what, God, like my life is really good in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but in a lot of ways, there are things that aren't working the way that I want. And
Yeah.
I could like, I know that so many people would want to trade places with me. And I don't like, I don't take that for granted at all. But I'm
Yeah.
like, but there's things that I really do want that feel further away, you
Yeah.
know? And so like I've been trying to do them all on my own. Like I thank you when I have blessings that come in, and I go to you when things are really hard. I'm like, but
Yeah.
I'm not really involving you in the journey as much. Like I'm thinking that the journey has to be all on me. So,
Mm.
you know what? I think I'm tired of that.
Yeah.
And that was kind of
Yeah.
the conversation. I was like, I think I'm tired of that. And so I'm gonna like, can you do it? Like, can you take over with a lot of it and a lot of the journey, and like show me then what that looks like?
Yeah.
And like like I said, I'll commit to the prayer time. I'm gonna do like small group. I'm gonna go to church, all of that. I'm gonna be reading my
Yeah.
Bible regularly, like all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
let's see. Like
Yeah.
show me how it could be with like you in the driver's seat, even in the
Yes.
little moments. And so
Yes.
for me, that like finding purpose in the single season, and I know it took me a long way to kind of get there, but it wasn't like me diving back into my faith and having this like renewed fire and passion for my faith wasn't just about like, oh, I want to get married,
Yeah.
again and have a family. It wasn't that. It was like a very like there was a deep identity like reconstruction, really,
Yes.
right? And like shedding and just like rebirth and all of that. And it was so beautiful to have that
Yeah.
time to myself
I
and
love
to
it.
be in that like place with God
Yeah.
as I'm like reconstructing so
Yeah.
much. And
Yeah.
so it wasn't like not about being incomplete, right? It's about like, okay, no, I'm being consecrated and I'm being like set aside and
Yes.
being like poured into and nurtured, and my
Yes.
identity is being refined, and like I'm
Yes.
getting so much sharper and like attuned to hearing God's voice and like hearing God speak
Amen.
through my intuition and all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't like it felt so rich too. And
Yes.
like I said, I had been like, God, you're like, if you want me to be married, you'll get me married. I'm not concerned about that.
Yes.
Like you'll do it. Like, come on, like
Yeah. Yes.
why am I taking that as my responsibility so much? Like,
I
one,
hear
I know
you.
I can't just sit at home by myself all day long and never go out into the world. Like, I know that. I'm like, but like, let's do this to you and me, and you'll put the right
Yes.
people in my life, whatever the
That's
situation
right.
is. And so it's not about like the single time. Like, I want to encourage women. It's not about being like obsessed with like, who do I need to become for my man, or where's my man, like all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, on the one hand, yes, you like, if you want a man like this, what kind of
Mhm.
woman is that man looking for? And then
Right.
you get to decide if that's the kind of woman that you are or that you want to be, right? Like
Right.
that sort of thing. But it's about like the single time, not about refining yourself for a man, but becoming like the most whole version of you,
Yes.
not just
Yes.
for a man, but for your whole
Yes.
life, but for your
Yes.
life, right?
Yes. Becoming who God actually intended for us to be and
Yes.
created us to be. Yes.
Yes, because that's the
Yes.
version of you that you want to
Yes.
meet your life partner, right? And not that you
That's
can't,
right.
and again, and you don't have to like reach the perfection or reach the end or be
Exactly.
fully
That's
healed
right.
to meet your person. You don't. You can be on the way to that,
Yeah.
right? But it's yes, being in pursuit of like, who is the person that God had designed me to be, and
Yes.
pursuing that. Because like another thing, you guys, is our imagination like
Yeah.
can't even come close to what God's imagination
That's
is
right.
and can do.
Nowhere
And so if I'm
close.
like, "Oh, here's what I think my life is supposed to look like," and that could be amazing,
Mm.
but what God has for you is always going to
Yes.
outshine that. And so
Yes.
if you were
Yes.
able to find that point of surrender and be like, "Yo, God," and yes,
Yeah.
sometimes I talk to God like that. "Yo."
Look,
And if you
I understand.
sometimes it's so casual. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Hey." like sorry, you know.
I
Some
get
like
it.
if you can be like, "Hey, like show me how to do life with you so that it can be as
Yes.
rich as possible," because I know that my human capacity for understanding and visualizing is so limited
Yeah.
to the God who created the entire universe.
Mm. Yeah. That's so good. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. This was so good. I'm just
Thank
like
you.
taking it all in. Oh, this was so, so good. Lauren,
Yeah.
you are amazing.
Thank
You
you.
are
And
absolutely amazing.
thank you. And
Yes.
I'll say one other little note too in that
Yeah.
time, like if relationship, marriage, family, all of that is really important to you and that's a goal of yours, and like one of the biggest things that's on your heart right now also,
Yeah.
is by understanding God better, by getting more into your Bible, by plugging into church, all of that, you're going to understand better how to be in relationship with
Yeah.
your future partner, spouse,
That's
and
right.
stuff like that. You're going to understand how you're meant to be loved and how you're supposed to love another person better, because the
Yeah.
template is in like God, right?
That's
Like
right.
Jesus and the church, like that is the model that we're supposed to be
Yeah.
emulating in partnership and in marriage. And so the more you understand what that looks like and what that feels like,
Yeah.
the more you're going to be able to see it when it's in real life in the form of another person, you know?
Yes, yes, that's so good. Thank you so much for sharing. I love your transparency, and I just love how you broke things down. Excellent. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much. Guys, I hope you took notes and you, you listened in, because this has been absolutely amazing. I have just
Mm,
really been blessed. in this conversation on
Thank you.
today.
Likewise.
Yes, thank you so much. Listen, guys, get connected. Get connected with Lauren. That's her information on the screen. www.laurensalon.com, spelled Salaun. Get connected. I mean, I just love the wisdom and the nuggets that were shared on today. Just really refreshing. And I could relate to so much that you were sharing on today.
Mm,
It's just like a transformation, how God, he changes and he does things when we're under construction, and how he
mhm,
draws us closer to him. I can relate to that so much. So yeah, this was so good. So guys, make
mhm.
sure you get connected, okay? And Lauren, I just want to thank you again for being a guest on the show. You've really been a blessing, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I love this, and I love opportunities where I get to talk about my faith and like,
Yes.
hopefully inspire somebody else, in whether that's in their relationship or like more importantly like with God. So thank you so much.
Yes. Oh, yes. My pleasure. I know you've inspired me, and I know that many have been inspired by your message on today. So, again, thank you. And I want to also share, if you would like to be a guest on the show, you can send me an email at bewritejonespodcast@gmail.com. If you have a story, or if you have a message that would be a blessing to others, with regards to uh, your life, and just your life message, relationships, or how you have grown in your singleness, whatever that may be. This podcast is for women who are single, dating, widowed, or divorced. And if you have a story to share, reach out to me, and I would be happy to have you on the show. So this is the end of the show, guys. I want to thank you for joining in on today. And, I always have to say, just always remember that God has a good plan for our lives.
Mhm.
Know that He is in control. God has a perfect timing for everything. So when we rest in Him, that allows God to do the work behind the scenes. So don't worry, don't fret. Know that God is working things out for our good. All right, guys. So be blessed. And as I always say, keep looking up. All right. Thanks again for joining in. Thanks again, Lauren. And you
Thank
guys
you.
have a good one. Thank you. Take care. Thank you so much for joining us for the Christ-Centered Single Podcast. Remember, we're going on a break, and we'll be back with a brand new Bible study series starting on Tuesday, December the 9th at 7 p.m. God bless. Have an amazing holiday, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.